Good evening, everyone. It's me, it's Mabbsy, it's Yann, it's Derby, not quite Derby Day, but it's close enough. It's 6:15 approximately on Friday night, the eve of the Derby, and who better to join me? My co-hosts, the cynical, the wonderful, the poetic, Mabbsy and Yann. How are you both?
Yeah, sounds you.
I'm
Just
here.
another game. Can't be arsed anymore. Had it. You seen just flash now. Fucking FA on the tangent. FA Cup Thursday at fucking 7:45 and 20 quid a ticket against Peterborough. It's just for to be on the BBC iPlayer. So there we go. Anyway,
There you go. You heard it first, and that must be all about TV then, Yann.
When is it not? Thank you for having me, Stevie. Normally I'm miserable, but I think it's a little bit moreish, like crack, and we've won four. But I would like to point out, sorry, we won and we scored four. Sorry, I'd like to point out that when he was asked about, surely it's a bounce in the press conference. When he was asked about, surely there's a bit of a bounce and all the feel and the euphemistic things he says. We can get into that a bit more.
Hmm.
But when he said, "Oh, Newcastle scored three against Liverpool, and is there an expectation for us to score?" No, and all that, and it must have been good that we scored four. That shows you can do it. And one of the things he said would, "I'd have took 1-0."
yeah, that sums them up, doesn't it? Sums them up. The press conference was utter shite. It was hardly anything to do about Liverpool. It was about Wolves. Well, what the fuck?
Hmm.
Human over it, to be fair. But there we go. There we are.
We find ourselves at that time of year where matches are coming thick and fast, and you don't know whether you're looking back at the last one or looking ahead to the next. But let's look at the Liverpool match, and obviously April. It was a magic day. I think it was the 24th. Jan, we were hugging each other. Quite kind of a wild match. It was one of those where, from the moment go, I just sensed that. Obviously, we had the disallowed goal. I think at the beginning, or was it disallowed penalty? The penalty.
I
But it
can't
was
remember.
just
Yeah.
it was one of those games where from the moment you just sensed Klopp's last game in charge of a derby, and it was
I
under the
would like
lights,
to
and it
point out,
turns out,
actually, sorry to jump in. This is a very valid point, and it was something that I thought when I was driving through Liverpool earlier today. Uh, if you saw me and you were in that white big Mercedes, you are a knobhead. But anyway, that's beside the point.
Random.
Um, uh, uh, it might get cancelled. There's a reality here. Some people in the comments,
No,
exactly.
don't think it's
John,
going to
no,
get
no, no,
cancelled.
because they've cancelled trains and buses in Merseyside, and when you factor that in, there is a potential. There is the potential.
I don't think it's getting cancelled.
No,
But I
it's not
mean,
getting
I've
cancelled.
just travelled 200 something miles. I've been up since the
Yes,
crack of
but when
just for
your
me
desire
alone,
to
it's
go
not
to the
getting cancelled. Anyway, yes, there's always a threat of cancellations, but we saw the Olympics went on, despite there being problems in Paris in that morning. I'm pretty sure that they will not want to cancel the derby. There are too many games coming up, and the Premier League will want to make sure that Liverpool have enough padding between those games, and they won't want to corrupt their
think about
title challenges.
think about all the Norwegians who booked airline tickets as well. So yeah,
Yeah, maybe if planes from Norway are cancelled, there's always a threat of
it's not
potential
getting.
issues.
I don't
you,
believe that's going to happen.
you said let's focus on the Liverpool game, but I just feel that that's disingenuous because for those of you who've watched the press conference, and for those of you indeed who haven't,
It's all about
I
Wolves.
think we should emulate the spirit of that, which is
Mm.
there are like three questions that relate to the upcoming game peripherally, and one of them was about it being probably the last derby at Goodison. Then there was a question about the continuity of style and success, the transition from Klopp to Slot, in which I would like to point out that Sean Dyche very magnanimously said that Arnie Slot has impressed me.
Mm. Well, look,
Get him sacked.
he's trying to.
Get him sacked.
Well, I think that there's definitely an element where he's trying to take some pressure off himself. At the same time,
Massaging them cunts' egos. No, thank you very much.
yeah, Yeah, it was it was probably controversial. What was he thinking with this press conference?
You could have
If
just
you
said,
haven't
"I'm not
caught it,
talking
it
about
was very
Liverpool."
focused on the last game. A lot of kind of very strange comments. That 1-0, no good for me. Not when Wolves are that bad. Come on. We put 6 in the net. Let's before we get into the derby, I know I do want to talk about it, and obviously it is a fixture and a half, but let's just celebrate the fact that we scored 4 at home for the first time in 4 years. And my dad goes and sells his ticket. It's so typical. You just can't write it. They had the ball in the net 6 times. I know Wolves were bad, but I thought we were first to every ball the other day, and I thought we more than deserved a thumping win.
It was always going to come, wasn't it? At some point, it was always going to happen.
But the thing is,
I
though,
mean, you look at Mangala. He should be starting this game. And so Brozier, when he came on, he was really impressive. And again, for me, he starts and he should be replacing DCL, because I think the question there was in the press about Brozier, is he a striker? Was it? I think, and then he said, "Well, yeah, I think he is." So why not?
Could he play on the wing? You don't want to do a Calvert-Lewin with him anyway. Come on to team news then, I suppose. Or should we just kind of bellow in the win? I mean, is there anything you guys want to say? Obviously, not that long ago since the last match.
No, because you say we scored 4 goals. It's amazing. It's the first time in that.
All
We
from
put
set
6 in the
pieces,
net.
though.
Yeah. The thing is, that
Two of them
level
own
of
goals.
performance was not. It didn't feel of a vindication. It was not a vindication of plugging away and just hoping, and eventually the tactics would work. The how we played against Wolves was markedly different from the style of play, or what, or as some people argue, there's a lack of style of play, or it seems to be so bland or lacking passion or verve or even end product, I suppose. So people go, well, what are the tactics if it's not culminating in anything? But the fact is, we've seen that. And the play and the result that we had against Wolves, for me, was not a vindication. It was not a confidence building. It was an aberration, right? It was like, oh, finally we're playing football in this game, but it's not like, oh, it's all slotted into place. It was outside of it. It was an anomalous performance, and that's the frustrating thing for me. Is yes, I was hopeful that we could do one over because we really needed to beat Wolves, and we did, thankfully. But there were times. Please tell me. I know we put it out and we played so well, and I can't fault that. Absolutely. But based on what we have seen, you can't suddenly say, oh, it's all changed and everything's rosy for me. That's it.
No, it's not. A 1 win doesn't make up for the fact that we were dog shite against Man U, and that we're as bad as we are good, and we're so inconsistent.
Even against Wolves, there were times when we almost could have capitulated and thrown away the points or not built on the lead, because although we kept doing that, we're relying on a team that's very shaky, and
they were so bad. But at the same time, the back of my mind is thinking back to August, September, and I'm thinking, even if we're 3-0 up here, do I think honestly that we're going to win? You still think at 3-0, you think at 4-0 it's done. But they were good. There was some good performances. Ashley Young was particularly strong. But what was it about Wolves? Was it just a response? What was it that worked? I mean, it seemed to be one of those games where from the first whistle, we were sort of first to every ball, but it probably doesn't really illustrate how bad Wolves are. So how much of it were we good and there was a bounce back? And how much was it just Wolves being absolute poor?
Absolutely, that comment.
John Paul
Exactly.
said Wednesday game just keeps Dyche in a job. Wolves didn't turn up
For another week,
point.
maybe.
I'll take the point, but when you look back on how Wolves performed and how desperate we are for points, I'm sorry, I know all managers say this, right? Of course, maybe he does mean I don't care how many goals we score as long as we get the points, even if we. I mean, it's not ideal, but if you concede 4 but score 5, excellent, fine. Not really, but to not have the nous or the awareness to say I'd take 1-0. I'm sorry. I want the mentality that I want for a manager is as ridiculous as it seems. I want him to fire the players up to believe that they're capable under the right circumstances, with a bit of luck or with anything, or if they all pull together, that every game's a 3-0.
Well, that's some sort of his dice ball, doesn't it? That's his tactics: fucking smash and grab, and then fucking defend and shut up shop. That's him. That's him all over. And I'm done with it. I am done. A win against Wolves in my eyes doesn't save his job. It just prolongs the fucking agony because we're just papering over the cracks.
Probably until January, we think, but we don't know. I mean, I think even a great manager will find the next run of fixtures. I'm just going to put them up again, a very hard one, and starts with this match tomorrow. But we are struggling to see where the points are going to come from, and by the time we play City, they'll probably be in better form. But you know, the only way of going into this derby, guys, with any remote chance, was to hit a few goals and to try and find a way. It was completely beyond our control, and I felt that a couple of decisions up in Newcastle went Liverpool's way, but that doesn't surprise
Like
me.
they always do.
Yeah, but it had to be like this. This was the only way that the derby could set up in any way where Everton had a chance of winning. Where, you know, it's an optimistic me to think that we're going to win tomorrow. A draw would be amazing, but Liverpool have not been stopped in their tracks this season. And the only way that this could happen would be this kind of turn of results in the week. Is kind of a bit of a twist in the plot. And anything can happen tomorrow, as we saw last year. It's actually earlier on in this year. Anything can happen. The same time, they haven't lost away since that match.
What was the score?
Yeah, in case you were living under a rock,
what
Everton
was
won
the score?
2-0.
Oh, did we? Oh, we
Yeah,
beat the Shite
I
on
got
Wednesday
I
night.
got a nice
What?
fine that day. It was more than worth it for parking the service station for too long, but it was the best money I'd ever spent. But yeah,
That's
you
what you
know,
get for getting an electric car.
so basically, we kind of relished that game. But since that night, there hasn't been really too many since. I mean, this is going to be the biggest test of the season without doubt. The fact it's a derby match does kind of add to the spice. If it wasn't a derby, you would say we haven't really got much of a chance. In fact, I think we've got the worst record against leagues who are holding the top position out of all the clubs. We are pretty dreadful when it comes to this, typically losing to sides who are at the summit of the Premier League. And since Klopp came over, I thought they're going to be, they cannot keep up that press and the momentum, and they're going to have to start going downhill. And that hasn't happened. And here we are. We are kind of almost trying to put a dent into their title challenge, as well as like trying to make sure that we don't get beaten up. Because I think tomorrow, if we lose 1-0, we've lost 1-0. But you don't want to get beaten up. We don't want to lose big time. But at the same time, if we get a draw, it could do quite a good job in their title challenge. But I don't think anyone's touching them. They're quite brilliant. I mean, it hurts me to say that. I mean, how much of a factor is it, the fact that we've won this last game against them? How much of a factor is it in the confidence and the fact
I think it takes the pressure off. Absolutely. I think, you know, coming into these run, the Wolves game out of the run that we've got was the easiest, and yeah, absolutely. It does take some of the pressure off, because it's not like we need to get these. Well, we do need to get these points, but you know what I mean. It's not as vital as it was, I think, on Tuesday, because the results went our way and we got results against Wolves. But then again, you've got the pressure and the expectation that, you know, it's a shite at home. It's you know, and that brings different pressures, because it's not about just points. This is about more than points, and it does.
Do you think that it's that kind of bittersweet moment as well, where it being the last at least league Goodison derby? It would probably be a strange one if there is another one, but you wouldn't put it beyond you to see a cup game, because that's just how sod's law works. But it probably is the last Goodison derby. And, you know, there's been some historic ones over the years, some amazing games, some bloody dreadful ones, and lots of 0-0s. But, I mean, the 4-4 draw, you know, it's a historic fixture. How much of a factor is it that we're going to cross that line, Yann, and it's going to be the last time we do so ever in the league, at least, but probably ever
at Goodison Park?
Well, the reality for me is that with it being the derby, yeah, you want it to be a monumental occasion. You want it to be rocking. You want it to. I want it to be something to remember for the occasion, and if you'll be patient with me, of course I want us to win, but I want it to like I wish we could be in a situation where it didn't matter whether we won, lost, or drew. That we weren't embarrassed. That we were playing good enough football. That if we lost, okay, hands up. It's frustrating and it's depressing, but that I could walk away remembering, like I was there at the last derby. The score's irrelevant. We were there, but it's not about that. There's nothing about this season that allows any of us to enjoy, for its own sake, going to Goodison, because the football is nervous, it's anxious, it's
Right.
and it causes us stress. It causes us to sit on this and pick apart a manager and player and tactics and each other and criticize groups like 1878 who are doing this, and we're all at each other's throats because we desperately want a solution. We maybe got different ideas, but we all want the same thing, which is going to the football should not be like scheduling a root canal.
Yes, it's all stress. It's just a stress ball, isn't it? Really, that's why we're all meeting up early, just to kind of vent our frustrations. I think if you just joined us, obviously getting out of work and all that, thanks for joining us. A few hundred are so far, and obviously people watch it back after. If you are watching it on Derby Day, then obviously the nerves will be jangling now. But thanks for joining us in the evening, and make sure you do hit the like button, subscribe, tell your mates, tell the postman, the milkman, your cat, the dog, everyone that you know, because we are 3,000 and upwards in terms of subscribers, and we know that it's not easy to grow a channel. We started in lockdown where we were talking to ourselves, and then now here we are. Anyway, back to the match, and I think what just to kind of echo Jan's comments, in a way, I'm kind of saddened the fact that the 2-0 win under the lights wasn't the last one, because that would have been an amazing thing to remember us by. And I do think that there's a chance tomorrow that is it's really hard to predict in a way. Even if we were in the top 4 in the league, you would still have the nerves jangling. You still wouldn't be able to go to the derby match without it feeling like root canal, to quote yourself. So it's not really any different. In fact, the fact that they're top of the league just makes us want to do them in even more.
Yeah, and I think as well that if we've been any decent, we've put on good performances, it would matter a lot more being at Goodison's last game, and so at last derby, sorry, at Goodison Park. But I just feel that Goodison's going out on the whimper, and I just think this is treated like any other game now, because all that sparkle and Rasmus has around it being gone. I think it's nerves, it's backbiting, it's just different to what I expected it to be, and I think everyone has the same feeling that this doesn't have the significance of being one of the last derbies. Well, the last derby at Goodison. This is more now. We're fighting for our lives.
Can I just
Again.
ask maybe a bit of a tangential question here, right? But why is it that other teams, and again, I'm not necessarily going to name them, make requests of the Premier League, and the Premier League are quite accommodating, understandably, and I'm not demeaning it. It is a very serious thing, absolutely. But do you think that it's a bit frustrating that our last game of the season is not a home game against
No, Everton made that special request not to be the last game, to be honest with you. So they decided that they didn't want the last day of the season to overshadow it. So it's been agreed that it's going to be on at a unique time so everyone can see it, and that's the reason for it not being the last game of the season. I was under that, but Everton came out and said no, it was their request too.
Okay.
So
Okay,
it
that
means
makes sense.
it's going to be an isolated fixture. We don't know what
Yeah.
time it might get moved, but it's going to be on its own, which I think is kind of what we want.
At least
I
it's
don't think
against
you can.
Southampton, though. At least it's against Southampton.
Yeah,
I
you
thought
can't.
it might have been against Nottingham Forest, because I believe that was the first league game that Everton played at Goodison Park, was against Forest.
Oh, right, fair enough.
Was it? Is that? We can't really choose the
1890
fixtures.
first?
No,
game
that's ridiculous.
I mean, it probably would have been.
Yes, it was. It was the 3rd of September, 1892, against Nottingham Forest. It
But
was
do you know what,
2-2
Jan? I'm
draw.
glad it's not the derby because you don't want to be going out with a potentially big defeat. I mean, sorry to say that, but we have seen it.
And we're
It's
then winning it because we all know that's going to happen too.
it's the fixture. If you just join us, it's the fixture which carries the most red cards, the most 0-0s. It can be feisty, but kind of modern derbies have not been quite that level. I think Liverpool has kind of typically dominated possession, but we've kind of had our own in certain respects. But it's one of those fixtures where it would be quite hard if you were given money to put. Obviously, do bet responsibly. It's hard to actually predict. I've put some odds up here for first scorer, but it's really hard to predict the scorers. But the one that I think we need to stop is obviously Salah, and I have no idea how you actually would do that. He scored in 8 games consecutively. I think Chiaz is out. I don't know why he's even on the running there. Broja's 12-1 to come on and score because we've got to assume he's not going to start. Probably some value in Dwight McNeil there at 18s, but and do bet responsibly if you are going to. But this just kind of gives you a flavour. Why is Calvert-Lewin 11-1? Because he hasn't scored for 10 games.
Because he's not. Yeah, at the end of the day, I think there's a stat in the group. I think what was it? The guy who scored 2 own goals for Wolves.
Dawson.
Is equal to was the top goal scorer.
The reason why he's 11-1 is we have a vested interest. We have a horse in the race. We're emotional, so we're looking at it through emotional eyes, even if we try not to. But the fact is that he is our, in the proof in the pudding. He's our first choice number 9 who plays every game. So it's the same principle in the eyes of the bookies. Right, they're there to make money. It's not reflecting the reality or the psychology of the situation. In the eyes of the bookies, it's the same principle of you've tossed a coin 99 times and it's been heads. It's still 50-50 that it's going to be heads on the 100th toss. So in their eyes, he's getting on, he's getting close, he's got the opportunity. So maybe if he'd have been scoring more recently, maybe if he'd have actually been credited with those 2, or maybe it's because the bookies recognise that although it's attributed to own goals, he's responsible for scoring, and that's why he's not 16-1, he's 11-1. It's high.
It should be like it should be lower though, shouldn't it? It should be lower than 11-1.
And obviously there'll be Reds and Blues watching this, but Blues, if you are feeling confident in the morning, you can get 13-2 on Everton approximately. Liverpool, you might as well just put money on something else because the bookies won't pay out much. But they've only lost 1 out of 14, so you understand that. Where's the value in that? Where is the value in this? Is it no goal score at 16-1? That says to me maybe it will be a stalemate. Liverpool might see a draw as not a disaster.
Tips for people: you obviously need to check the individual bookmakers' betting.
Yeah. This is a broad what I call a broad spectrum betting. This is not from any particular bookmaker.
No. What I'm saying is you will have to check any individual bookmakers as well. But the good point of ever doing a no goal scorer bet is it also covers own goals.
So you had it first, and we've also said that it's the most fixture. Also, I don't think 12:30 kickoffs do bring out the best in matches.
Shocking idea. Honestly.
Not the best atmosphere. The players are still half asleep. The fans definitely are. I hope the atmosphere is even half as good as it was in April.
2.5 days.
Yeah.
2.5 days.
Anyway, back on to kind of team news, if you like. And Liverpool have got 7 players out.
Are they?
Basically, Dyche said there was a few knocks. Mabbsy, obviously Tim's out, Garner's out, I think. Shamety's still sidelined.
Timur Abunam, James Garner, or Jimmy, as he's
but there's no new injuries as such, is there? It's just the regulars that are already out.
Could be worse, I suppose. It probably will be after this game. And Liverpool, obviously, they've got their long-term sidelines. Dimiskas, Alisson, Bradley, Konate, Jota, Chiesa. That's probably going to be out, we think, the latter. Alex McAllister's probably their main player that's out. But I don't think it matters because I think Liverpool they've got an ethos, they've got a system, they've got a way of playing. We don't.
Yeah.
Our style is whatever Everton turns up on that day.
What I hate is Keller's not. The only problem is Keller's not a dodgy keeper. That's the issue that we've got.
I know. I thought they would be dropping points by now.
Yeah.
No, some of my friends who are Reds have pointed out, and quite, and shown me examples of he's actually been a very good keeper for quite a while.
Yeah, he's just not had a game because Alisson has. And
Dominated.
that's what you want. You want two good keepers. I mean, God forbid if Pickford gets injured, what happens? If you just joined us and you got back from work, me, Mabbsy and Yann, we're previewing the Derby match. You know, that little game between the red and blue side from Merseyside. It happens to be the last one at Goodison, at least in the league. And it's a match that comes before Villa, Southampton, Brentford, Newcastle, Palace versus City, and then Man U Forest. And we're kind of optimistic that Everton are going to get something from the game because they bloody have to. Their run of fixtures after this game is pretty much a nightmare, and this is the hardest, where they play the side that's top with a goal difference of 18 and 35 points. The Blues are sitting 15th. We have 14 points. We are 5 points above the relegation zone, which I suppose is better than it was this time last year. But it's not enough to kind of make me feel comfortable when you see the fixtures, Mabbsy.
Yeah, no, this is just hell month, isn't it? Let's be honest. You got Arsenal, you've got Chelsea coming, and yeah, as I say, someone said on Twitter a few days ago, "Oh well, I predict we're getting 4 out of 4 points." I don't know where they're coming from. Well, maybe. I just hope Liverpool just don't turn up. I hope they're fucking whatever, and there's obviously they don't turn up, and we get
You
to-
just hope magically the league leaders
Yeah.
that have been romping it just go, you know what? You know that game where we get to kick the puppy that like to sort of throw a spanner in our works and the whole, handball
Yeah, pretty much,
denial
yeah.
of yeah, they're just going to go, you know what, guys? Just let's take it easy today.
I mean,
No,
we
they're
think
not
about
going
Liverpool.
to,
If we
but-
think about Liverpool, what happened recently? They beat Villa, but then Southampton gave them a bloody good game, and
so
they
did
did come
Newcastle.
out. They were quite And then, well, that was coming on. Then they played Real. Real weren't great, but and they've not been doing well in the Champions League. But Liverpool won 2-0. Liverpool also won 2-0 against City, and we know City have not been going well. But then that's kind of the train might be halted now with the Newcastle game. And Newcastle did score from a quite incredible angle and a goalie mistake towards the end of that game. And I just
Thank you
wonder
for joining us on Follow Liverpool with Stevie.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying
Follow
that they
Cop
have
out.
played some nice, easy games, haven't they? Real, City, Villa.
I mean,
they've-
you can't say they're easy.
yeah, I know. I'm being sarcastic.
What do you mean, fix the new roof? What's wrong with the roof? Has something gone
No,
wrong with?
No, there's been
We
a weakness
before
again.
before this Wolves game, we'd lost 4-0 to United, and then we hadn't scored for something like 4 years.
Right, so on that comment, fix the roof, just pointing out that the stadium's still not finished. The drains weren't in properly. They're still fitting them. So bit of bad weather, yeah, that's fine. Teething troubles, and it will be fixed before we move in. It's just because the drains aren't properly put into place yet.
Obs.
And
Yeah.
yeah, it's just unfortunate they've been really shit weather.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's boring.
you can't say anything from that.
So do you
Yeah,
think?
but they do love a good story, don't they? But any press is good press, surely.
No news is good news.
No
For
news is-
Evertonians,
Anyway,
it's,
let's talk about the game tomorrow, because we don't go off tangents very much. How are we going to stop them? What are we going to do? What's the game plan? Clearly, Calvert-Lewin is starting up front for me. Whether you like it or not, he's going to be the talisman, especially after what happened in April. Who else is on the pitch? Who does he rotate? And how do we stop Salah? We'll start with you, Yann.
I think. Okay, joke answer first. I think we need to sign that player I've been hearing a lot about, Lango Rourke, and apparently he's really good at in Wolves and at set piece. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, he
contract
scored
is
more
finished.
goals. He's our top scorer, right?
Yeah. Anyway, no, Lango Rourke, the construction people.
yeah, it's not
Oh no,
builders.
sorry. Yeah,
All right,
sorry.
okay. Maybe all right then. It just wasn't funny then. Fuck off.
It wasn't funny, and
That
to be
was-
fair.
All right, okay, yeah. No, what we're going to do? We need to have a tenacity to chase the game high, to not give them the time, to not sit back and allow them to lope around, because if they do, that's when they suddenly break on the counter. Now we're not going to leave ourselves exposed, but we need to be switched on. We need to communicate with each other, because even against Wolves, there were times when we left ourselves open, and the game could have turned. Now, if you do that against Liverpool, they're just gonna they are both going to dominate us and then counter. It's they do both things. They play at speed, and what are we going to do?
Mabbsy?
Yeah, I actually think he picks the same fucking team because that's what Dyche does.
Can we cope with?
I would like to see Brozier starting, but I don't think that's going to happen.
It's not going to throw him into
Um,
that, Mabbsy. We
no.
know that what we want to do on PlayStation isn't what happens in reality on Saturday afternoon.
No, but at the end of the day, he thought he was very positive in the Wolves game.
Yes, he's good. Everyone seems to think he's going to be a good player to come into our side. Probably more January, a little bit maybe in December, but certainly not thrown into this derby.
You know
Because
what?
if it all goes pear-shaped, they'll say, "Oh, you put Brozier in, and what was wrong with Calvert?" And he can't
Well,
win.
we all know the problems with Calvert-Lewin. He's not scoring. He just seems very disinterested. He's not up for it. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Apart from this last game, he did everything but score. I mean, pretty much he got himself in better positions, and he looked fiery. He looked like it was derby week.
Well, I wait to be proven wrong. One game doesn't make us swallow.
There
No.
was
And I think he's
but
probably
there
on
were
his way out,
elements
isn't
of
he?
some there were elements of some really clever, like, you dink this, I'll follow it up, and you could see some players that weren't quite on the ball because maybe they were following their tactics, and then some who just decided to, you know what, I know what to do here, head it, dink it onto another player, and as he's turning, he knows where you're going to run, so he just plays it over. And a couple of times there was interplay with DCL and Decore, Mangala. A couple of players, I can't remember. Maybe it was even Brozier, or did he come on as a straight swap for DCO? I can't. Anyway.
But if you're in the Liverpool camp tonight, you're probably only thinking about a couple of things. You're thinking about set pieces from Everton and McNeil and the combination of McNeil and Calvert-Lewin, aren't you? Because there's nothing else really that you can worry about.
And maybe just play quick to wrong foot Pickford, because you're going to have to get some good shots from distance to beat him. So it's going to be a case of counter, ball across the box, scrabble, bang it in the goal.
Yes, and I think we're just going to sit back. It's going to be a low block. It's going to be a flat back 11.
We're going to get rinsed, aren't we?
Well, we are if we give them any.
We're going to get rinsed more than a granny's perm.
We're going to be behind the ball, and we're not going to be in their half. And we have to accept that our best chance is winning set pieces. And I don't know whether they can defend against us or not, but it's just going to have to be. It's going to have to be our way. I would love a 1-0 from a set piece, and it could happen. But, it's probably more realistic that we play okay, and then Salah gets a penalty or gets behind the shoulder and scores with his left foot.
Well, it's Michael Alvarez, isn't it?
But I just feel by saying that he might not. So we just hope that, let's get onto the ref, yeah. Michael Oliver, what was that all about? Now, if you've just been living under a cloud, it's the same ref that didn't send Pickford off for the challenge with Van Dijk.
Does that
not
mean
half
that he's
a player
going to overcompensate this time?
Yeah, and then also because of what's happened with that, with David
Coote.
you just know they're going to fucking get given everything. It's going to be so one-sided. It's going to be unbelievable. Because they so brilliant.
Can I just bring up that in the mind of, now, I'm willing to admit I'm wrong. I'm asking for some genuine, informed input on this, right? But what pissed me off most is the decision to disallow the goal because, was it Mangala was involved in the play or something, but didn't play the ball. It's like, standing in front of the keeper, only he wasn't, right? So my real question is, when VAR have done that, right, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I haven't seen enough football, but to me, that's the first time I've ever seen an offside decision be sent to the monitor.
Yeah, well,
Everton are all about first, aren't we?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
You can probably say something else will happen for the first time tomorrow.
By VAR, yeah, probably.
Because you can acknowledge that there's enough problems where they They allow play to continue, endangering players, risking them, the risk for tackles and follow up things, and maybe one player's not in it and the other, and I know they say play to the whistle, but you end up with situations now where clearly they don't. There's very important knock on. It's the second phase argument. Like for instance, we concede a goal by the ball going offside, or the ball being played, the player offside, and it goes for a corner, and then they score from a corner, and you never mind. Dial it back in. It's just.
I think
Depressing,
we
isn't
know
it?
how it's going down tomorrow, but then we said that in April. We thought, well,
Okay.
this is Klopp's
Sorry,
last game.
The Blues has just told me it's happened plenty of times, mate. I didn't know. I wasn't aware of an offside call, them being sent to the monitor.
I'm just sick of actually being sent to the showmanship of being sent to the bloody monitor, because we all know as soon as we go to the monitor, yeah, it's fucking getting changed. And it's like, well, what's the I think, wasn't it one of our games that he was looking at a blank screen because the monitor wasn't even fucking working, and he had the percent it was on the floor. Fuck off.
I do. So the Blues. I got that. It seems very strange that then you're opening it up to be it opens up that avenue.
Well, here we go.
Look, it's not clear cut.
We can't debate VAR forever. I bloody hate the thing. It spoils football for me. But this is a side, if we are going with the same side, and then you look at that against Liverpool and you think, how the hell are we gonna? So on paper, we're just a weak link, aren't we? You exploit Young, you exploit Mikalenko, especially Salah can do so. Decore looked a lot better against
Sorry,
Wolves.
just got to say, Peter is right by that. When that goal was disallowed, Calvert-Lewin jumped for it. Sarr jumped in and over him and dropped it, and he didn't have control, and it shouldn't have been disallowed. But yeah, anyway.
If we keep to the same side, I mean, look, who would we swap? Who are we going to change? You can't bring on Jack Harrison. I mean, the guy, I love Ryan's quote, like he had a sledgehammer. Composure, I mean, or lack of, is incredible.
Yes.
But
well, he missed 3. Never mind.
I think.
No,
say what you think.
Against Wolves, he missed some obvious opportunities and just blasted them when all it took was just composure, calm. Just take a moment, half a second, more haste, less speed.
If you look at this, the shape's okay. It's defensive. It works against Wolves, but what works against Wolves playing set pieces is very different to a highly confident Liverpool side that are energetic, press, and have bloody good players. Branthwaite has been susceptible, especially he had a nightmare against Man U, guys. If we talk about this game and forget Wolves happened, I won't give us hope in hell chance. That was awful against Man U.
Yeah.
Well, which Everton are we going to get tomorrow? There are some comments coming through.
Oh, he must have cut out.
Well, we've lost Stevie there, so with that in mind, I think. Oh, he's back. Hello.
Yeah, I blame the internet.
Yeah, I need to get it sorted.
Yeah, we are in the same house. Not all of us, but we'll all be in the same house tomorrow when Everton play Liverpool. It's 12:30 kickoff. Get down to Goodison early, and if you have any food, I know this sounds silly, they are doing a donation drop-off. So everyone who brings food can make sure that there are no starving kids or adults in Liverpool Town Centre tomorrow night. There'll be some food, I'm sure, brought to the game. Maybe soggy chips or old cans of pilchards, but whatever it is, just if you've got it, it's been lying around, just give it. And if it's something you've been given, you don't want it, bring it to the game. I think there'll be flags. I think that there's
the flags and the low Gladys,
yeah, there'll be flags tomorrow, and hopefully we're not flagging at the end of the game. We'll probably be in a foul mood, but whatever happens, there'll be a team. I think Corey's going to host, and it'll probably be one of those where none of us actually commit to being on the stream, but actually secretly all of us will be on the stream, win, lose or draw. But that's what we're not telling you. So the spoiler alert is that's what happens typically. We have a group, people volunteer, no one's about, and then all of a sudden, whatever happens, everyone jumps on. So that's our slot. But we want you here tomorrow. Whatever happens, we are hanging our hat on a positive result. I certainly would take a draw, but I think you can't play for a draw, can you guys?
No, you've got to go for the win. That's it.
So how bold can we be?
Sorry?
How bold will we be? How far will he be pushing that team to get through the first half without going to put the Liverpool side up against Newcastle here so you can just have a look at it. How far will we be trying to sit back and defend against
I think that's his plan.
Nunez,
That's
Salah,
always his fucking plan.
Gravenberg. McAllister's out, by the way. So he's not playing. This was their Newcastle lineup. Do we know who's coming in? Who cares? We got a lot.
Yeah.
If I think Alexander-Arnold's going to start, and I think he kind of links up so well with Salah. That's a problem for me. But I think we've got to get through the first 30 minutes without conceding.
Yeah, but they just seem to get better if the game goes on. That's the issue with them. That, you know what I mean? Later on to the game, they actually look more dangerous because they're probably back on the nailers.
The Blue says we've used up our derby luck for the next 10 years. Interesting stat actually is that if Dyche wins, he'll basically outdo the previous 7 managers. It's absolutely nuts. We do not win back-to-back derbies. We certainly don't win many derbies. And the one before that, 2-0, I think, was the one in COVID when there was no one there.
I would like to point out we're not too far away from Wales, by the way, and there is
I thought you were going to say we're not too far about being a good side.
No, right. And there is a threat to life and warnings against non-essential travel, and Liverpool Liverpool Council of the Everton and Liverpool football clubs have issued a joint statement earlier today. So clearly it's something that's on the radar of. We'll have to see how it is tomorrow morning. Genuinely,
let's try and get that BCBC Merseyside. I know I was affected by the trains, but I don't know how bad it's been because I've not been in touch with what's going on. There is a bit of news. If you go to the BBC News now, there's an Australian Everton fan that's come over just for this game. It's a long way to see a match, but yeah.
If you pardon the pun, it's a storm in a teacup.
Yeah. Well, as I said, the context was on the day of the Olympics. There was major issues, and the Olympics opening ceremony went ahead. This is a derby match on TV. We hope
game's
that
going ahead. Let's be honest. Yeah. It will go ahead. There's no doubt in my mind it's not going.
Can you remember any games at Goodison that didn't go ahead because of the weather?
I think there's a Crystal Palace game, wasn't there? A few seasons back, I think, because some cladding.
How long ago was that?
4 years, 5 years.
Yeah.
I remember a game that was very, very cold. It did go ahead, and it was 3-0. Everton beat West Ham in December, and it was snowing. It was horrible. I think we had Kanchelskis or Limpar on the pitch, and Julian Dix went in goal, and we won 3-0. But it was so cold. And
who remembers the
heavy snow?
Tim Howard? Who remembers the Tim Howard game where it was proper windy, and he just kicked the ball and he scored? Yeah.
Yeah, he scored more than Calvert-Lewin this season. So, yeah.
Has Keane scored? Is Keane on?
Maybe we should get Keane on. I don't think he's quite there.
I thought he was a doubtful.
Really annoying.
I think Keane's a doubtful.
Maybe get on the bench. Maybe we should get him on the bench because then Liverpool will shit themselves thinking, oh no, Keane's going to come on and go up front and score.
For me, there's nothing drastically wrong with that team if you can inspire them to play the same way they did against Wolves. Obviously, you're not going to have the same level of success because Wolves didn't turn up. And no disrespect to them, but they're not at the same standard that Liverpool have been playing. But we need to, it's the arguments of whether we're going to see players. I don't think he's going to change it up too much. We're not going to see Broja start. You're not going to see Patterson come in. You're probably going to see a very similar starting 11 with maybe only a change dependent on if Tarks or Branthwaite might have some sort of little injury, or he might want to shake it up and bring Keane in because Branthwaite, was caught out a couple of times and allowed the player to get goal side, and he had a bit of a bad game against United. All these kind of things, but I don't know. So for me, it's about not giving them the space. It's about being quick to preemptively predict where they're going to be with the 1-2 and the pivot players and the overlapping runs and stuff, to not allow them to take the piss out of us. When you play like five-a-side and there's clearly that the other team, they come up with two fellas who are probably failed professional footballers, and they just dick around and they make you like, you're not playing football, you're showing off and making it. We can't let them do that. That's for me.
No, we've got to stay in the game. But I
Yeah.
mean, the fact that it's a derby match and it's at home, it does bring it closer to being a tight game. I mean, if we can't get up for this, we can't get up for anything. It's the last Goodison derby, and we've won, but we still got a lot to deliver.
Sorry,
Dyche will
Blues,
have to play for
by
his
the way,
own life. He will.
Blues
Dyche,
regular on here.
why
I
would
just want to
Dyche
say,
have to play
guys.
for his own life?
No,
Dyche isn't
guys,
off.
before you go on to that, I do want to say, like, the Blues regular on here. Maybe I didn't join us earlier when we were talking about, that performance was just a blip. There was nothing confident about it, and it was an aberrant, anomalous, and there was nothing inspiring about it. So that's why we criticised Dyche for saying I'd have took 1-0 against a team that played like that. No,
I'm happy with the 4-0 against anyone, anytime. If we beat Peterborough 4-0, I'd be ecstatic. I mean, we don't win by 2 or 3 or 4-0 these days. It's hard to watch at Goodison. I mean, we very rarely scored. It was actually the first time we scored at home this season in the first half.
So what was it you guys were saying there? I just wanted to touch on that because,
I can't remember. We were talking about you running circles round us. We won't be chasing shadows because I think we'll be tight to them. But if they get the goal, that's what's going to change it. What happened with the other game was we got the goal. They were under pressure, but then they did have a lot of shots, and Pickford had a fantastic game. He seems to rise to these games, though. Pickford, he will be a commanding presence. We just need to make sure we get corners, we get free kicks, because they will hate it.
but we don't have the meatiness of the derby because we, even though we might have had less footballing ability, we had more tactics and more teamwork ethos and hard work when we had like the Gravison and Carsley or some sort of hard hitting, no nonsense physicality in the middle. And Doucouré's a bit of a wild card and playing those two. It's strange that it seems like at times we end up like a 4-3-3, but if you're not quick with having those two there, and Doucouré doesn't fill a gap in the middle, and potentially you end up with two players not properly covering the middle, we're going to be screwed. And we need to have somebody on the ball there, somebody switched on.
There will be heart in the mouth moments, and they are going to get loads of chances. I often spend my time watching the clock, actually, Yann, during the derby matches, hoping that time ticks down and that we've still got a chance of not being slaughtered.
I don't know why this just amuses me, this comment, Rod. My advice to the game is to put on your best booing pants. Does that mean what, brown pants or?
No, he's obviously going
Is
to
that misspelled for pooing? I think we will always be shitting ourselves before that match.
This is my point, because we don't have this sudden awareness of tactical awareness that every player, like when Dyche mentioned and Stevie mentioned before, that there's a continuity with Liverpool footballers, and it doesn't matter if they have a player injured, another one comes in and they know how to slot in and do the system. Whereas we'll do this, and it should be like, I just think of moments like Mabbsy. Do you remember like when we used to play and you used to watch like the way that Baines, P&R and Osman had just functioned, and you'd be like, within 10 seconds, that ball's going to be on the edge of the box, waiting to come into the middle or crossed in or something.
Yeah.
And now, like, we don't have that.
They were the days. They had telepathic.
They were the days.
We didn't think it was amazing then, but it was amazing. Arteta, Cahill, Osman, Pienaar.
Honestly, it was just, those were the days, weren't they?
Yeah, they were the day. We didn't think it at the time, but what a side that was, actually. They were fluent. This side, we couldn't carry I don't know what you probably got a better.
Do you want to know one of the most magical players that I've seen play at Goodison Park in my time going to matches? And you might laugh at me at this.
Klaus Thompson. Go on.
Go on.
Leon fucking Osman.
Well, he was kind of underrated, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, he deserved some England caps. He was bloody good, and the fact that he was so small and so strong, that leaping header against Vincent Kompany on the head of the box that scored that, and he was down on the ground for about a minute afterwards. The guy just kept work. I love him. I love him.
And the thing is, to accommodate, he's a nice pundit as well. But to accommodate him, they often stuck him out on the right, and I don't think that was his best position.
He did the job. No, he did
He did the job.
He
He did too. But it's because we had Pino on the left and Baines, and they were the days. Still don't think we won many derbies, but we did win one 2-0, and we had the Andy Johnson one. Wow, that was a good game. That, I mean, I was in the Gladys Street for that. But like, Liverpool don't look back going, oh yeah, do you remember that game against Everton? Because it happened like every 2 or 3 games where they smashed us. Oh, the one that really drives me up the wall is the one where Gary McAllister scores the free kick. You just the place goes silent.
But Arteta was never going to get caps when you had like Xavi and Alonso and Iniesta. Like, sorry. Anyway, we're going miles off.
And do you remember the one with Mane? We were 0-0 and we played pretty well, and then they score right at the end.
Yeah. Well, that's just.
But this is the fear. This is why we're going into it, because we know we can stifle them. We know we can stifle them for 94.5 minutes, and that the jammy buggers will get a.
This is what I'm
free
saying.
Kick or something.
Divock Origi, that fucking
Origi. Oh my god, that's a nightmare Christmas past, isn't it? That was.
Let's just fucking not go.
I know, but it's okay. We're trying to get over. It's like trauma therapy. We're trying to get over the demons so that we can move on. And I don't think we're ever gonna get on these demons. But what about 1-0 big dunk, Gladys Street? I remember. Is that member bar?
No, don't worry.
If you are a Liverpool fan watching this, you'd probably be
Fuck off.
This video shared. No, you are more than welcome until we cross the line, and then you're very unwelcome. We know that there are a lot of shared families where there are Reds and Blues. The Blues are panicking, the Reds are enjoying themselves, and that you will be split. But maybe you're watching it together, and if you are, please mention the channel to everyone you know, and along maybe continue win, lose or draw. And believe me, we've not seen many wins for the last 3 or 4 years. We've turned up week in, week out, moaning and groaning about terrible Everton performances. And well, I can't say anymore. We have a pedestrian midfield. They're up to the task when it comes to sitting back and defending, but they can't carry the ball, can they?
Can't do very much of anything.
So that's why isolating. That's why our only game plan is just to stay tight, and hopefully we'll get some set pieces. Block the ball. We need to play like Jose Mourinho's in charge. Try and nick a 1-0 with some sort of defensive lineup.
Do you know how many games we've won in the last 3 complete seasons? As in this so far in this season.
Yeah, we've won 3 games.
Season. No, 3 games this season. 13 games last season. So that's 16, and then 8 the season before. We've won 24 games.
We didn't win 13 last season, did we? More like 3. That game against Liverpool, we're fighting for our lives.
Last season, we won 13.
Yeah, that's what we did. We looked quite
well. It's the points deduction, you bloody muppet.
We got 12 points deducted, we remember.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, did you forget about that?
Yeah. Sorry, what points deduction? Yeah, there'll be another one pending in a minute.
Just on this video.
There you go. There's a first. I'd forgotten about the points deduction, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
I'm too focused on how we stop Liverpool and Salah in particular. He's going to get a penalty, isn't he? They get more penalties than we have hot dinners.
Well, did you see that Newcastle when they got away with a penalty and then they're complaining about obviously they boil my fucking piss.
They towards the end of the Liverpool game. If you didn't see the Newcastle Liverpool game, Newcastle it was topsy turvy, typical game for those two sides. Liverpool were behind, Newcastle went ahead. Liverpool went ahead. Salah was wonderful, scored a couple, hit the post. But then towards the end, the ball went up. Gallagher just missed it. It was a complete misjudgment. It was hilarious. Should be on Sporting Bloomers. And then Liverpool conceded basically in almost the last second. But it wasn't the last second because Newcastle broke away. And just when they were about to get towards the final half with a break, something like 3-on-1, the referee blows up the whistle.
Yeah, shocking. Don't want the media darlings losing now, do we?
You are right that their games are very back and forth, the Newcastle Liverpool games lately. And it just reminded me of, though, again, I remember one of the greatest and most hilarious for a bystander or objective observer, like watching it. Do you guys remember that the Arsenal Newcastle game where Arsenal were 4-0 up and they pissed it away and Newcastle got 4 goals back?
How recent was that?
Oh, 10 years
I mean,
ago.
is this a game review of other clubs, or is it just?
All right.
I'm just thinking, like,
No, it's fine. We can get our Arsenal fans on. We don't go off on tangents. We've kept on topic. That's only because I'm here. If I left it to you two, you wouldn't be even talking about the derby. You'd be talking about some sort of race called the derby.
We're not even talking about the derby now. We're talking about an historic game between Newcastle and fucking Arsenal.
It's fine.
No, I was about to point out how that capitulation of Newcastle, at a time when they were not very good, at being consistent, it was reminiscent of us. But the fact is that we, even then, I don't see us having the reserves at times to get back into games, and that's so defeating. And that's why Goodison is so quiet at times. Or it doesn't even take the first goal; it just takes that sort of. As soon as people start to notice that the heads are down and we're letting them like walk all over us, and I don't want that for the last derby at Goodison.
No, I really hope they've got that fight, and but it shouldn't be a hope. It should just be a given. The flags will go up across the line. It is on TV, TNT Sports. I hope for an explosive performance from the Blues. And on that note, sorry, I think it's time. We're in added time here, so I think it's time. Mabbsy, are you going to go with your heart or your head or something else?
Go with my heart. Because if I go with my head, I don't want to play smoke off them cunts' asses. 1-0 to Everton. But I know it's not going to happen. But
how much would we love for that to happen?
It'd be fucking amazing, but we I just can't say it.
Okay, so if you were given some money to put on now, what would you actually say would be the most realistic?
I'm not gonna blow smoke up their asses, so no.
Right, but it's probably got a 2 or 3 on the other side, right, Yann? We always like this because tomorrow it always looks crazy.
Do you want my rational, reasonable?
Let's have both. Let's have both.
Because I don't want to throw some words out that people will go, oh, well, that's daft, because this is more like
You can't be any dafter than Peter, who's a regular high beat.
Fuck it.
It's only 9.
3-0.
3-0? What to them?
Fuck it. No.
3-0.
3-0. I just hope that something ridiculous happens and they get like a red card. I don't know. I'm just hoping somehow.
They're not getting a red card, are they?
I'm hoping, okay? I'm hoping.
Yeah.
The hope that fucking kills you.
Yeah. DCL hat trick. Yeah, what a hat trick of Oggy. What a hat trick. It's really hard because it's that game where you just like, you know what you want to happen and you know what will happen. But I'm actually going to go for 1-1. I'm just going to think that we're going to get in it somehow. I think they might score, but I'm pretty sure that we're going to get back in it. I just have this sneaky feeling. It's probably one of those games where it's harder to predict than it would have been, say, last week. Because I wouldn't have given us any chance last week at all. I mean, we're dog shot against Man U. I just turn away. Just like, what? Are they Everton? Was that an even worthy of the club? No, it absolutely wasn't. I thought Dyche was on borrowed time last week.
It was Garnacho's goal that did it, though, because to be fair, that it was like it was just out of nowhere, that overhead kick that went in the corner. Was it Garnacho who scored that first goal? Sorry, against
You're talking about Man U You're talking about last season.
Yeah. What planet am I on? I'm sorry.
It's okay. I was at that game. I think it was the best goal I've ever seen at Goodison. Well, up there with Janino and a few others.
Sorry.
Scott
Well,
Gemmell.
Clearly I'm living in fantasy land because.
It's okay. We're all losing the plot. Well, our time's up. We're in added time now. So thanks to everyone who's been joining us for an hour. We're now going to give 5 more minutes to Liverpool to score. We'll give them as many chances, and then we'll be on the breakout with Decore trying to feed it into Broja. Broja's going towards, and then the referee blows up, and Liverpool have won.
Yeah, let's just not talk about
Can
that.
see
Steve.
it. Yeah. But the thing is, if we get all these frustrations out of the way, then we know that they're probably not going to happen. But maybe Broja will get 20 minutes, whatever happens. He could be our trump card to come on.
Just
let's
play him.
face it, no one
Just
else is
chuck
coming
him on. At the end of the day, I'm sick and tired. Well, he's not fit to start. Well, at the end of the day, you're fit to be on a bench. You're fit to start. So.
Yeah. Anyway,
Right.
let's round
We'll
up, guys.
grab some of the homeless out of fucking.
Mabbsy, I'll see you in about 2 minutes. Yeah, I'll see you in the morning. And of course, yes, we will be post whistle. We might be on beforehand as well. Depends on how we feel, really. But get down to Goodison early and try and make the atmosphere as good as it can be for a relatively early.
Get
Some
down,
people are not.
come on. Get down to Goodison Park, the boss.
Try it.
Woo.
Yeah. Yeah, and make sure you hit that like button and subscribe it. And like every video, because it helps the algorithm come up so we get more visitors. And as I said, even if we get defeated, whatever, if we win, we probably won't be on. We'll be celebrating, but bear with us. We will be on eventually. We'll see you tomorrow. Up the toffees. Thanks for everyone for joining us. Have a good night. Have a good weekend. Come on, you Blues.
Up the fucking toffees.